Ready when you are.
All right, all good, John. Welcome back, everybody, to another Hangout and Hobby. I'm Richard Siegler,
I'm John Lennon.
the John Lennon, and we are going to hang out with you today. I am just going to go ahead and grab the chat, and if you want to just talk about some of the cool things that you're working on, which
Absolutely.
is Tyranids.
Today we continue the Tyranid exploration. I'm painting up 6 Hive Guard. I'm painting them up in my own Hive Fleet scheme, so that if we need to, we can run 2 different color Hive Fleets. We have some Hive Guard, but anytime you run allies like Kraken and Kronos, especially if you ever have a tournament setting, it's good to be able to distinguish them. So I'm just knocking this one off of the hobby list real quick. Luckily, my Tyranid color scheme is fairly quick to paint, so I figured I would knock out some new ones for Hive Guard that I've had sitting around for years, plural. It seems like as good of a time as any.
A long, long time.
Absolutely, anytime I've got like a break between major projects, I just finished up the Knights. I'm going to start Nyx Harlequins pretty soon. Figure, grab a couple small projects, just knock some boxes out of the closet of shame. You just want to, you got to keep balance,
Balance of the Force.
Balance of the Force. Anytime you're not trading things into Warpfire, insert lovely sponsor pitch, you've got to just trim down the herd.
Which we may be doing this week.
That's actually what prompted this. I was looking through stuff, looking for Warpfire possibilities, and I saw the Hive Guard, and I'm like, you know what? These actually just need to get painted. Like, it's been long enough. I'm like actually paying attention to Tyranids again. We might as well knock this out real quick.
Alright, I think we're all good. We got the worm going. We've got YouTube going.
Right on. Wonderful.
Alright.
What are you going to be working on,
I'm
Mr.
working
Seaver?
on finishing up these Immortals. I have a stack of 4 more boxes of them, but this 10 at least brings me to 50.
You have 4 boxes after the 50?
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with you? Folks, I can't explain this. No human
Now,
being
they
would
can be
ever-
death marks, too.
Yeah, but like, don't you already... How many death marks do you have?
I have 10. So
Nearly
I'll probably
10.
save the last 2 boxes. But,
Madness, I say. Madness.
as many Immortals as possible. How do you feel Ninth is going with the changes overall? I think it's going in a great direction. Having a standardized mission packet is a lot more interesting,
Absolutely.
frankly, for me, because it's easier to compare different metas and how the different factions are doing. Like, the data that we have for 9th edition, even though it's still in its early phases, is much better than 8th edition, where it was hard to tell between Pro Tabletop format, Nova format, Adepticon format, just all over the place.
WTC format, yeah. Conflicting data sets definitely matter. But you did get some good moments out of that, like oh, Richard's Tau wouldn't do well in anything besides Nova format. Comments that did not age well.
Yeah.
If we had like a full ESPN where, like Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl and he goes and like retweets all the people who doubted him, I'd love to see like the Richard Seeger victory lap,
It wasn't that many.
I know.
It was a couple of people now and again.
That's okay.
But once the Tau started doing well, and then Brian won SoCal, so I think after that people stopped doubting the Tau.
Started believing. They started believing.
How's it going, Cloud Mode? TK Penny, what's up?
What's up, TK Penny?
Subnerd's hot take on Death Guard now. Craters impact their movement. Does Tanglefoot, Tremor Shells? Goonhammer says they don't, but wow, Games Workshop, thanks for the confusion.
I think that the changes to Force and Craters isn't that big a deal. Obviously, it's mildly inconvenient, but I mean, you still have the option to not go through a crater most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, every other army has to deal with Force and Craters, and they find a way to be okay. I don't think Tanglefoot should affect Death Guard, because if Tanglefoot affects Death Guard, then what the hell does that rule even do?
Nothing.
Like, it has to apply to something, so I feel like Tanglefoot and, like, Tremor Shells and those kind of things have to be where it does matter. But yeah, mild nerf, but nothing crazy. The FAQ, frankly, didn't clarify much for me.
Yeah.
Still got questions.
Once again, it goes with their theme of very, very minimalist on the FAQs.
Yeah, no kidding. They seem to really want to wait till later to put anything ground-shaking in.
Working on a Castellan and Carib Colne. Wow.
Carib Colne? Oh,
TK
TK Penny, it is about time. Carib Colne, the Risen, a.k.a. the coolest Forge World character, a.k.a. I wish he could take a real warlord trait instead of +1 leadership. Man, what a guy.
Leadership is
Yes.
inspiring a lot.
Yeah. I think they got sick of us being abusive, so they just dropped in the like at the front of the Forge World book, every named character in this book can take inspiring presence as their warlord trait if they're your warlord. I'm like,
powerful.
Wow. So like Zarakniel, +1 leadership. Great.
I found 2 instances where that's actually useful. In Necrons, when you're running the really large squads, and then it's also pretty useful in Tau when you're running a lot of drones. But other than that,
Space Marines, less so.
I don't think I've seen anybody use Inspiring Presence.
Not in Space Marines. Nope. Alas.
Do they answer any Silent King questions, or do they hate me?
They only answered one question about Death Guard. That's it. So this wasn't a big FAQ. It wasn't a sweeping FAQ. This was that Death Guard Codex.
The only questions about the Silent King that I asked that were answered were by Frontline Gaming for the Las Vegas Open.
Yep.
Outside of that, they've been very minimalist in discussing the many interesting facets of the Silent King.
Indeed. Why does he always make saves? I keep asking. Games Workshop won't answer. Neither will you, Richard.
Heart of the dice, John.
No.
Heart of the dice. Don't question it. The king must prevail. But there are a lot of interesting questions with the Silent King because he's a very unique model overall.
Yeah, of course.
And he has a lot of strange interactions with various rules.
He certainly does. We'll
As
have
of
to
yet,
wait on that.
No clarifications.
I'm sure we will get them eventually. What they did their last FAQ they did in January, right?
Yeah, they did in
Yeah,
January.
like early January.
I expect another one like May, June.
You think they'll do? I was honestly, now maybe this is me being pessimistic. I was gonna say July. Like I think we get a new GT pack in July. I assume that they just do one every year. Last one came out in July. I assume the next one's July. I don't know this, of course. But it makes as much sense as anything else to me.
July could have been the date that COVID had enforced upon them. Maybe they actually wanted earlier.
That's very true as well. If they wanted earlier, then oh man, well,
because we heard about all the production delays.
Yeah,
that were happening
maybe
over
we
summer.
just have to wait and see. Then unfortunately, I'm not privy to these secrets.
Hey guys, great content as usual. What's your take on Forge World units for Tau? Hazards are they any good now with the new cost for Crisis/Bodyguards? Hazard suits are okay. The problem is the entire chassis of just basically all the battle suits are overcosted baseline because they are costed for having Savior Protocol, and then you have to pay for drones on top of it to access Savior Protocol. That's pretty much how all the Tau battle suits are pointed, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So I think the hazard suits are just overpriced baseline. Like, they're not horrible. You could play them and still do decently, especially the twin burst cannon ones. The fusion cascades are interesting, but just extremely pricey per model.
Yeah.
Right now, I much prefer the bodyguards because they have more rules that affect them, especially being able to get up to ballistic skill 3+ with that pregame strat.
Yeah, some good stratagems.
So I think the bodyguards are much better because they're more points efficient,
Mm-hmm.
but I wish they could take some of the weapons that the Forge World ones could take.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me.
And if they drop the hazard suit like 10, 15 points base, that would make them actually quite a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I think Tau just need a different rules approach, frankly, and I don't think that their problem is points related, but we will see when.
Yeah. Well, right now their stuff is just overcosted. They're
Yeah.
not made for what is supposed to happen this edition. So
Mm-hmm.
the Tau flyers are awful. They're all garbage. And then
The Remora. What about the Remora?
it's 60 points, John.
That could
You can
be
almost
worse.
get 2 Blade Guard for this cost. It's ridiculous.
Well, you can't because you're Tau, so
Yeah.
for the Tau players who don't have access to Blade Guard.
It's okay, but it's still hardly anything to write home about.
Oh, I wanted Remoras to be good.
They're not horrendous once again, but they're not great.
Mm.
You're not really building a list around them.
Can't you do Mortal Wound tricks if you're Farsight?
If you're Farsight Enclaves, you can.
Boom, build a list around it.
Yeah.
I
The
would-
problem is you start running. I tried building enough of them into the list, and I soon had very little else in my list.
Well, what else do you need? I mean, Tau with Mortal Wounds? That sounds kind of broken to me. Remora spam 2021, let's do it.
It's hard to pull off with the slots, too.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think if you go for the Mortal spam with Farsight Enclaves, you go for triple of the Bombers, and then you go for the Remoras. And so you have turn after turn of popping the strat. Evening, gents. Working on a Bloodthirster tonight. He's sitting in my pile of shame for a while. He deserves some attention. Mark Perry agrees. He's going to put the Spicy Bloodthirster
Absolutely.
in his list.
You take a Chaos list, add a Bloodthirster for spice. That's the tradition. I fully endorse this. Bloodthirsters are just iconic.
And they're the coolest of the greater demons, in my opinion.
I like keepers. But that's me. They're definitely better than the Greater Unclean one.
The Great Unclean.
And I also like them more than the chicken. So I support Bloodthirsters. Khorne is a perfectly respectable Chaos God. Upstanding member of 40k.
Wasn't it in the previews for their Psychic Awakening book, the Demons one, that they previewed a 7 Bloodthirster list?
I'm pretty sure that was like an Apocalypse thing, but I could also see that being a Psychic Awakening thing.
No, I thought it was normal detachments. It's a
Can you do
2,000
that?
point list.
If you, I guess back then maybe if you did like
Back
triple
then,
control, wouldn't help much, but like, yeah, I mean,
What they really need is pure. If I'm pure Khorne, I get some crazy buff.
I'm sure that they'll get some love eventually. I mean, the way they've been doing the 9th edition books, like I've been super impressed by every book that they've done in the last year. So I imagine, I can't imagine any army like getting a new book and then just like not having some flavorful and fun options, except for Space Wolves. Other than them, or as I call it, just Codex Space, because you need to forget that there are wolves in there.
How do you feel about upgrading Terminators to Paladins in Grey Knights? Paladins are still good. 100% they're still good. I've used them many times. They feel a little unnecessary, and they lack OBSEC, which is super important right now. But if you prefer Paladins, I don't think there's any reason that there's no downside really. Just that they're taking some other resource away.
Yeah. I just don't like that you then have to fill another troop choice.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem with it.
In that case, you drop the Terminators entirely and just do 3 strike squads.
Yeah, but then like you're paying the cost to upgrade the Terminator squad and you're paying for a strike squad.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not bad, you know. They're an extra wound is a big deal, as the 9th edition codexes will show.
2 CP transhuman on them. You can stack all the different
I
defense
forgot
buffs.
that they get old transhuman.
They get old transhumans, so they're still basically, whenever I've played the Paladins, nobody is killing the Paladins.
No.
Just ignore the Paladins and attack everything else. That's why I prefer having extra things on the board.
I secretly hope that Games Workshop FAQs yours to only work on Primaris and then not give you any Primaris units. Yeah. This is like back in the glory days of 7th edition, they gave every legion their own equivalent of a like the old Gladius, like all the Chaos Space Marines.
Formation.
Yeah, like they got their own formation. The Iron Warrior one gave you rerolls to hit with barrage weapons. Iron Warriors do not have any barrage weapons.
Oh, it's powerful.
Nope. It was awful. It's like which like sounds super thematic. The problem was that because it was a formation, like you could only take certain units in it, and none of the units that could be included were barrage. Because you could get barrage from Forge World, but of course the formations were printed in GW books, so they pretended Forge World didn't exist. So they just had a list of GW units you could put in, and none of the Forge World ones. And it was incredible. Like, folk, I don't know how to tell you like how depressed I was when I realized. Because, like, when I, like, got that, I love Iron Warriors. I've always, like, wanted them to be a main army, and they've just been depressingly terrible every time I've considered it. So, I dug deep trying to find barrage weapons, and I figured out that you could actually put a fortification in there with a barrage weapon if you took the Vortex Missile Battery.
See,
but then I looked it up, and it was Iron Warriors units got to reroll with the barrage weapon. So the one barrage weapon from fortification that you could put in still didn't benefit. I tried so hard. It was very depressing.
Did they ever change it? Or
No, they literally just let the
edition?
edition just fix it by not existing anymore. It was incredible.
Are those Tyranids I spy on the table?
They are! We're painting Hive Guard, folks!
Is that the legendary Exocrine?
That is also a legendary Exocrine. That's actually Nick's Exocrine. My Exocrine will be it's already painted. That's the Exocrine, yeah, that's the Exocrine.
It picked up a full
That picked up like the Blightlords by itself. It just needs to be based because for some reason Nick hasn't based it yet. So we're just gonna get around to doing that if I've got some time.
Is Khorne a worse version of Blood Angels?
Are Blood Angels better Khorne?
Blood Angels are better Khorne for sure.
Khorne is pleased.
Would a shield wall list, the one that won the Nopin, work with Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Vets, and Eradicators instead of Sisters? You do lose Doctrines, which is not the end of the world for Blood Angels, because they have high AP, and +1 attack isn't absolutely mandatory, because they already have a decent amount.
Volume.
But it is a big miss. Now, durable board control, super sweet to have, but I would rather honestly run Blade Guard.
Yeah, I feel like I think what he's saying is that if you add like the Custodian Shield Wall to that, I feel like that the Shield Wall brings something that the Blood Angels aren't struggling with.
Yeah.
Like durable board control is something Space Marines are already pretty decent at if you need it to be.
Yeah.
So I personally think that you'd be looking in different directions if you wanted to get that done.
Sisters it complements perfectly because none of their units want to stand out on objectives pretty much.
Nope, not even a little bit.
So being able to just throw a 5-man Custodian Guard unit out there and soak your entire opponent's shooting phase and they're still alive, that's a big deal.
That's pretty strong right there.
Also adds counter assault that you don't have to send a full Repentia unit to deal with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do like having counter assault.
Counter assault that doesn't require all your miracle dice or command points.
Yes. I mean, if you just have all 6s anyway.
The other thing is that it opens up Tanglefoot and some delaying tactics too.
Which I don't think works on Death Guard, but Games Workshop managed to make questionable.
You gotta make it a question.
It's incredible that they actually managed to pull that off.
Can a shooting-based Space Marine army do well in 9th edition? Seems the best Space Marines are combat-based. They're mostly mixed arms.
Yeah, I think you
Leaning towards
lean
melee.
combat, but you definitely want some guns. And I think a shooting Space Marine army can 100% work. I would actually argue that Dark Angels have the best shooting Space Marine army if you choose to go that path. Just because Talonmasters, Attack Bikes, some of their unique units like Dark Talons, all put out some quite impressive firepower.
Who would you say a second? Ultramarines?
Ultramarines and Salamanders are both in contention there for sure. Maybe Salamanders. I think Salamanders might be a little better there, but I think I like Ultramarines better because they just have more tricks, I feel.
Space Marines are by and large a mixed arms force. They do
for
everything so well, and you can round out your list really nicely with some combat specialists plus a bit of shooting.
Yep, absolutely.
Like John's White Scars has Plasma Inceptors and multiple attack
bikes.
bikes.
Oh, I actually have 9 attack bikes now. Now I just need to actually paint them. But I've been procrastinating that because I painted a lot of Space Marines for a stretch there, and I was just trying to do other things for a little bit. But we actually have enough attack bikes now to get that painted up in my color scheme, so that we have 18 attack bikes in the house, which is apparently how many we need.
What do you think about AdMech list leaning heavy into Corpus Scari? Certainly, just being able to. It's very good on when you have guaranteed midfield ruins because you can just throw them in there. You don't really want them coming off the flanks like the big 15 to 20 man units.
Yeah.
Because they end up shooting like a 5-man screen or something relatively cheap, and then they get shot away.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't that impressive. Once they get shot up by anything with volume of fire, you're losing most of the squad.
But I also like having just one unit, a big unit in reserve, because when you make people screen, it gives your other guns a lot of things to target. Because a lot of people try to beat AdMech by just not getting shot. Which, you know what? If something shoots harder than you, don't get shot. Fairly logical. Making them put screens out there gives your, all of your heavy stubbers and all of your plink damage some good targets to go after as well. So I really like having the one unit of Corpus Scari in reserve almost every time with AdMech.
I found that the 10-man still do quite
10-man's do enough, yeah. 10-man could be enough as well, frankly. 15 is just the most you can get for one CP out on the outflank, which is the most I really want to spend there.
Yeah.
Oh, these Safeguard models these are cool.
Would Elders Restrain work on Death Guard now? Haven't had a chance to peep the FAQ.
Oh, man.
I'm going to guess that none of this is supposed to work, just that Forest is the only thing they want to be exempt.
Yeah, that's my guess, but frankly, it's a little unclear. Incredibly, they really managed to muddy the waters on this rule. Where I had no doubt about what it meant yesterday, and now I'm like, geez, what does it work on?
As soon as you start adding these exemptions, the rule has no purpose.
Yeah, because the way they phrased it, there really aren't any modifiers to move values. It's all modifiers to move characteristics, and it gets muddy. So I personally think Forest and Craters are the only things that slow Death Guard down, and the rest shouldn't. But that is about as clear as mud right now. So ask your local TO. It's about the best answer I can give on that front.
And they could have just very easily just said this only works for Forest and Crater. This is specifically for that.
They could have said that, but they chose not to. The GW is full of mysteries, and they like to keep it that way, apparently. Don't know why, don't know what's happening, but they like their mysteries. Alright, time for a nice sloppy wash on these Tyranids. Tyranids love washes. Unlike Death Guard. Death Guard are very dirty.
Nick's Death Guard love to wash.
That's true.
Alright. This arm won't go in.
The arm will not go in?
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
Please stay.
Hope it holds on.
Mm-hmm. Don't have much faith in my growing corn army being on the tabletop, but on my painted display shelves, they look great. We also have a corn army. That,
We have a shocking number of demons. The number of skull thrones and skull cannons we have.
We've got skull cannons.
I think do we have 4 skull cannons?
I think it's only 3.
Is it only 3?
But
Oh
we
no,
have-
I think it's 3 and a skull throne.
Yeah.
That's right.
We have quite a few blood crushers as well.
Yep. Oh man, talk about a cool army. Like
Yeah.
blood crushers. Oh man, like I would
We
love
have
to
the
crush.
Skull Taker himself.
I would love to crush some blood. Is all I'm saying. Don't know. I mean, it's a liquid, so I'm not sure how that works, but we'll crush it all the same. Corn doesn't care.
What do you think about custom Forge Rolls? Reroll with Cognis at half range, 6 up Feel No Pain, with 6 flyers, 12 chicken admech. Played against it yesterday, looked absolutely terrifying. I have tried the custom Dynasty and was impressed by it. The 6 up Feel No Pain was extremely clutch.
Dynasty, he
Or
says.
Dynasty, you know.
Forward roll.
Yeah, Forge World. But overall, the one problem there is quite a bit of firepower in the game, and you are not hiding 12 chickens or 6 flyers. So if your opponent happens to go first, they're going to do a pretty decent amount of damage, and the chicken defense is not great.
Yeah.
We've seen it, like a single one of those Volkite Contemptors that's pretty popular right now, picked up almost the whole squad,
Yep.
which
Those are deadly.
awful.
That's- Yeah, that's really not what you want to happen.
So, because what is a 150 point Dreadnought or 160?
I think it's like 140
Yeah, it's something very cheap. Picked up almost 375 points of my
of
army.
chickens. Yep. I really don't want to be taking that kind of firepower.
So the main problem with the chickens is their lack of defense, and I actually think you go for allies instead. I would rather sisters multi-modes of retributors than the chickens.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Easier to sacrifice a squad.
Yep.
and
Much
more
easier to
reliable.
hide until that point.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm just a little nervous running that many Iron Trades. But if you're going for pure Admech, it certainly is not bad at all.
No. It's quite strong. Alright, how are the arms on these immortals coming? Almost
Slowly.
there?
Yep,
Slowly.
I got 2 more to go.
Alright.
Thinking of playing some Tau with Magna, rail broadsides, missile sides, airburst crisis, ion relic riptide commanders. Is it worth it to invest in some shield drones or invest in more suits like the XV9s? So, I think personally it's better to invest in more suits now because of how expensive shield drones are.
Mm-hmm.
Or you go for the midpoint where you just take a ton of gun drones. Against horde armies, they're great. They have tons of shots, and in the times where you need to save your protocol against other armies, it's only 10 points a model instead of 15. No feel no pain for them, unfortunately, but you just accept it. Take the biggest shots and try and tank the rest on your armor saves or invuln. Overall, I don't think the Relic Riptide is as good anymore, simply because you're not taking as many drones. However, the Airburst Crisis is amazing because you can hide it very easily, and you can put the Ignore AP 1 and 2 on there. So you're really only tanking, those high AP shots.
Yeah.
Which don't typically come in crazy amount of volume, and you can kind of play around their line of sight and their angles. So you can use terrain and defense to help the Airburst Crisis survive. The Magna Rail broadsides I like for a different reason is that they're very cheap, especially if you go with plasma. It's only 70 points for the rail broadside plus 2 plasma.
That's not terrible. Do
Because the
you
plasma-
own those out of curiosity?
I own 3 broadsides, and I plan to play them on Tuesday as the Magna Rail sides.
Ooh, rail sides. Are they magnetized or you just got the rails?
They're just going to be missile sides that I say are rail guns.
That works for me.
It's just going to happen.
Yep, I'm not gonna complain.
So, I do think they're very good because they're cheap. So if they end up dying, whatever, against armies where they will die, just put them in reserve and bring them in. Tau don't have amazing strats overall.
Yeah.
You need to build around. But you can get things like Commander Farsight to help with Commando to let them reroll wounds.
Commander Farsight. What a guy. Champion of the Enclaves.
But overall, I want to go for the battle suits that I can actually hide.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Riptide, it's pretty difficult to hide them. You can still do it, but once you're committed, your opponent can very easily get angles just to the size of the unit.
Yeah, they're definitely big models.
If you go for the Relic Ion, you want to be peeking out and then using the move after
shooting?
In the charge phase.
Yeah.
The Nova boost. So that you
Nova
can jump
boost.
back into terrain. That's the way to play around with less drones.
Looks sneaky to me. Looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be on tomorrow's stream, right?
That'll be on tomorrow's stream against the Imperial Guard.
Absolutely. They're already painted, even though I am painting Guard today.
What are we going to see for Guard, John?
Ooh, probably a decent mix. I'll bring out some Lehman Russ, maybe some Hellhounds. I really like my Manticores. Probably going to have a Chimera full of Plasma Idiots rolling around, I'm sure. I do like having the Chimera full of idiots. I'm trying to bring a fairly mixed arms here with Guard. Nothing too crazy. No Bulgrim because I don't think they're very good. But, yeah.
Ogre?
What's that?
Ogre?
Also no Ogre because they're somehow worse. Yeah, that's just a sad state of affairs.
Guard do not do the counter assault. That's allies.
That's very simple. I'm going to shoot you before you get there, and then I don't need counter assault. That's my game plan.
My Volkite Contemptor managed to pick up a single chicken before it got exploded by the flyers. That seems... Well, were you taking all the buff? You should be taking the Tallyman, and then with that...
The Inexorable. It can get pretty hairy pretty quickly.
Yeah, you want exploding 6s, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s from a Lord, and then those sweet 6s are mortals on the wound rolls. With the heavy intercessor models becoming available soon, do you see any place for them competitively? They are competitive in Deathwatch, 100%. Yep. They are there to help unlock other units for you.
I'm also frankly interested in doing a very Gravis heavy and Asriel Dark Angel build, where you've got a ton of T5 with the Forp Invuln, but actually a lot of shooting coming out of it as well, instead of the Terminators. So you basically trade T4 and the Transhuman for T5 being cheaper and having guns. So, something like a big Green Wing thing. It could be possible. We will almost certainly get some of that Kill Team box if the price is right, because it has Flayed Ones, Chronomancers, Heavy Intercessors, all units that we at the Art of War have been waiting on, perhaps. So it'd be nice to finally have those. I don't know how long we would have to wait in order to get them separately, so I imagine we'll get a box or two.
Yeah.
How many Flayed Ones do you think you need?
I'd like at least one break of 20, and I have 10 of them.
Okay, so if we just get 2 boxes there, that's 10 Heavy Intercessors.
Yeah, I think
that's probably enough to be a foundation for the Deathwatch list.
Have you ever had a time when your pile of shame had nothing in it?
Yes, actually.
When I first started.
That was my joke, yep. I kept up with a pile of shame for the first couple of years because I had a significantly smaller hobby budget. I got a box for Christmas, and then I had 4 months until my birthday. I usually got it painted by then. Then I got my next box. Got another 8 months before Christmas. Usually got it done at that time. That was the first couple of years of as a Tyranid hobbyist, and things may have spiraled a little bit.
We have a giant closet just full of 40K stuff.
We do. There is a non-zero number of hobby projects in there that are not built or painted.
My entire sister's army is in there.
Yep, but we're working on it. This is why we do the hobby stream. I'm happy that since I think I'm just slowly shrinking it, and it's going to take me another while to catch up. But my pile of shame is, I believe, smaller than it was a couple months ago.
Are rock cutters on Acolytes viable with the amount of less than 2 wound models that are currently present?
Or
more than greater than 2 wound models?
Yeah, they're really best into the 3 wound Terminators is where I think you really want them. They're definitely not bad. I think I might prefer the rock drill in such a circumstance anyway. But man, I also really hate having negatives to hit. They're viable. They're viable in that it's a nice, fun alternative for Ginster Cult that doesn't have those kind of options right now. Frankly, I'm just not planning on actually trying to kill those units yet. But if I ever get desperate enough to try, that would be the best way to do it. So Yeah, I would say they're viable for Genestealer Cult.
Has Seek seen the Skew AdMech flyer list? Spamming it? The 6 different flyers for AdMech? I have seen it. I've had clients play against it. It is fairly skew overall because you're not hiding those flyers, period.
No.
So you go second against an army with a decent amount of firepower, and the meta is shifting towards more firepower overall.
Yeah.
You can just lose too much.
I think Dark Angels could kill 3 flyers in turn 1 without breaking a sweat.
Quite possibly. Yep. And that's without going overboard on the shooting.
No, this is like the Terminator. Yeah, like my 16 Terminator list, I feel very confident I could kill 3 flyers on turn 1.
Yeah, and even if you kill 2 and bring the other one down
a little bit,
a couple wounds for next turn, like you still did quite a bit of damage. So
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it good into a decent amount of armies? Like the bombers are amazing; they're by far the best one. The Stratoraptor is okay; doesn't have that much firepower, but still it can bring a decent amount. The transport's garbage.
I assume they're not talking the Transvector. Yeah. I assume the 6 is not that.
Transvector. So, overall, yeah, I think it is a list that can do fairly well, but it does have some tougher counters out there.
Yep, right.
Just going second in the wrong matchup, which I typically try and avoid in my lists, but I can see why that would be appealing for some people, because it's... the other thing is, the flyer bases are quite large, and so it can be difficult to put them in the positions that you want them.
That is very true. I struggle with that playing too.
Yeah. When deploying them, they're like going in a particular area, and that might be a vulnerable area because you want to protect the other units in your army. My Black Templar pulled a clutch win versus Magnus & Co. yesterday. That second player getting bottom of the turn scoring just turned the game around for me. How do you guys feel about it now? Felt really strong for a comeback. I like it a lot more.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's perfectly fine for the player going second.
What had happened in a lot of our games is whoever had top of the turn just threw his whole army onto objectives into the opponent and didn't care if none of the models ended up surviving. It's just you were denying primary that turn and you had the advantage because you had momentum.
And you'd already scored all your primary.
Yep. So I think this was a very positive change. Did they go far enough? Maybe, maybe not. But we'll see if they end up deciding to do more changes.
I think it's fine as is. What I've noticed is that it really changes the playstyle, because once you go first, you kind of have to stop that from happening where your opponent just gets an auto 15. So it really forces you to be more aggressive. And that means that your army has to be capable of doing such a thing. Because you can't just let them get a 15 at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think what it comes down to is that certain missions favor turn 1 over other ones. I think there's a problem with the missions, with certain missions.
There are a couple of missions that could certainly use some love.
Yeah.
We'll see how long we have to wait for that to theoretically happen.
Cool Dude just donated $5 super chat. Thank you so much. With a little, there's some sort of figure lifting weights. Keep it up. But thank you so much, Cool Dude. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're the best. Thank you.
Let's see. Can't wait for Magnus update. If they give him crazy stuff like knowing all the powers from all 3 disciplines, that would be hype. He will probably get something else to make him...
Yeah, he'll definitely get some kind of changes. And I'm sure all of the Primarchs and similar figures, like we saw, the Silent King and Mortarion both got some pretty A-tier rules. And, you can argue about whether or not they're worth it, but they do stuff. The problem with those is never that, they just don't do anything.
What you can guarantee is that Magnus won't get cheaper. I very much doubt that'll happen.
He won't get cheaper, but he probably will get better. I imagine he gets more expensive and he gets more rules.
Yeah.
And then it'll become a question of, was that enough? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know what exactly would be coming there.
Would you give MSU Vespid squads any chance as scramblers engage in all fronts? They're decent.
Vespid.
They move 14 inches, so even if you don't get it the turn you can, like turn 3, you can't come down to your opponent's deployment zone. If you can find a safe space and then move them the following turn into a zone, very possible there.
And I love Vespid.
Yeah, Vespid I like Vespid the most out of all the auxiliaries.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a little overcosted compared to something like Swooping Hawks? Sure. But they're not horrendous.
No, not at all.
I also think you run the 1 unit of stealth suits in that type of list too, so you can just start out in the middle of the table and get
Just get a scrambler.
Yeah, get middle.
So you can literally just deploy 2 inches in front of your deployment zone, and then if you go first, walk the 6 forward and get it.
Or you can deploy the stealth suits right on the opponent's line if they don't have anything deployed yet.
Oh, get
They
theirs.
have the very old. Them and Ghost
My
Heels can
goodness.
deploy exactly on the line, 0.1 inches from your opponent's deployment zone.
Madness. 50% of turn 1 scrambling your opponent's zone. Oh my goodness, that is filthy.
Do you guys see a place for 20 Novak Warrior bricks over Immortals in the new Death Guard Dark Angels meta? Would you still run the Obsec Scarab Outrider with them? You can definitely still run Warriors. Warriors bricks are still great. They trade less efficiently into those armies, in my opinion, because in order to do damage, they have to come up and actually do it. They're not doing any damage in melee. Against Death Guard, they're not because of the Foul Blight spawn. You basically need to commit the Silent King that turn. And
Make them fight last.
yeah, that's not always something you want to do in the context of the game.
Of course.
So it forces you to do that. On the other hand, against Dark Angels, they have Storm Shields on Terminators, so your AP1 doesn't matter. You'd have to be in the Novak one, and even then it's only 6 to wound where you get AP2. And then they're taking 3-ups, so you're still not doing a tremendous amount of damage.
Yep.
So once they're committed, they're pretty much dead.
Mm-hmm.
And would I rather commit 135 points of Scarabs for my contesting the objectives and holding it down, or tying a unit up, and then have my Immortals in the backfields, which is much safer, shooting away from 30 inches? Yeah, probably.
Yep, totally makes sense there.
Also, having Immortals lets you deal with things like the attack bikes that are going to be shooting you the whole game otherwise.
Attack bikes.
Yeah. Otherwise, the Warriors aren't going to shoot them away.
That's true.
That's just never going to happen.
That's
So,
true.
Being able to have the range game and support for the Silent King doing that range damage
Mhm.
is really nice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you want to run Warriors, you can still absolutely do it. It's just you're playing a more I am committed very early.
Yeah, to this playstyle.
And I would still run at least some Scarabs.
Yeah, I
Because
think
you need them to
Scarabs are
soak
good.
mortal wounds.
I think Scarabs are good in every format.
Even if they're still Novak and not Obsec, what they're there for is soaking and tying things up. Soaking mortals, especially. What would be an outline for a Dark Angels Greenwing list?
Oh, I think you start with Azrael, and then you go... Azrael, Ezekiel, and Talmasters are basically auto-include. But if you go Greenwing, I think you really go with, like, Hellblasters, Inceptors, Intercessors, or Heavy Intercessors. And you still take a couple of, like, Ravenwing bike squads. But you're mostly just going for a very firepower-based infantry list, like Aggressors are also very good here. Basically, all those 3-up save units that have good output but are a little bit fragile for the cost. You take those, you take Azrael and Apothecary, and you have very efficient shooting that is a lot tougher than normal Space Marine chapters, and you try to bully people with that. This Azrael is fantastic for supporting those Greenwing units. Fort Pinwell is strong. I like the Dark Angels. They just have a lot of different build options in general, frankly. I know everyone's currently really hyped about Terminators or complaining about Terminators. And I get it, the Terminator builds are very strong. It's a great place to start. It's a very obvious way to build a list for Dark Angels. But I do really think that they can adopt multiple playstyles and absolutely have a good shot at victory there.
What secondaries would you pick with your Novak Warrior build going against a Magnus Chicken Mortal Wound spam?
Pour that witch, baby.
You can definitely go for a Pour the Witch if you want to try and kill them. I think you try and kill Magnus, and the Super Chicken, you tie him up with Scarabs and just ignore him the whole game. If he falls back for a turn, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Throw something else into him or just ignore him. The big thing is Magnus can put a lot more mortals out all at once, so
Yeah.
I get rid of him. On top of that, the rest of the list is probably like Pink Horrors and just OBSEC board control. Potentially you could do Thin the Ranks against that type of list, because if they don't split and use the summoning points, you'll lose secondary points on Thin the Ranks, but they basically have nothing else in their list.
Yep.
So I would happily sacrifice that for them to not split. And then the last thing that I would do against that type of list is you just want board control. A lot of that list is standing in front of you and popping a bunch of mortals. If you have Scarabs, you are going to soak a lot of mortal wounds those first 2-3 turns, especially if you're running 27 of them. So you can just easily do board control at that time. I would really just go for the primary deny them the primary points, kill the pink horrors, and try and tie up the Lord of Change as much as possible while killing Magnus.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me.
But I wouldn't overinvest in kill secondaries. You want to take the easy board control ones. So against a list like that, something like Purge the Vermin is a nice, safe option. Because Magnus doesn't want to be next to the Silent King.
Not for long.
What's the play with flayed ones? You want to run them in Custom Dynasty. A big 20-man brick. You bring a Resorb. And you want to bring the Psychomancer. Psychomancer has a aura of -1 leadership. Flayed ones have a -2 leadership aura. So -3 leadership, -1 to combat attrition tests. And you want to just throw them into the middle of the board behind your Scarab screen. So 1 CP, they can be -1 to hit. They're just as annoying as warriors to deal with, and they actually hit a lot harder. And you can use the fight twice to get extra movement around the board with your OPSEC on them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's how you run flayed ones. I haven't had the chance to try it just because I don't have flayed ones yet. But I think it synergizes very well with the Psychomancer, and then the Psychomancer's turning off OPSEC with his ability is roll 3d6 to beat your opponent's leadership. If they're -3 leadership, you're doing it pretty consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool.
We have a 28 Euro super chat from New Maynor. Thank you so much. All of your content is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for your work every week. That is super generous of you to say. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. Also, your name is amazing. John and I are both big fans of Lord of the Rings.
Ah, yes.
And we appreciate your cleverness. Nick might not.
Nick doesn't appreciate it.
He is going to appreciate it. We're still need to do 2 towers.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Just a matter of when.
Nick has 2 more essays to write on Lord of the Rings. And we're not going to forget that. Remember when Scarabs would eat tanks without even trying?
Oh, you weren't
John
here
remembers.
for that. Every time they rolled a 6, they decreased the armor value of a tank by 1. And then because you remember the old armor value system.
Yeah.
And then of course the first you'd start rolling the 50 freaking attacks that they have. You get a couple 6s and suddenly they get down to armor value 7, and then you'd be glancing them on 4s and you just immediately rend them apart. Scarabs would just utterly destroy a Land Raider without even blinking. It's oh my goodness.
Novak Scarabs are actually pretty damn annoying to deal with.
Yeah.
The 1 CP for +1 attack, 6 is auto wound, they're at AP 1.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff right there. I'm with it.
You can get them +1 strength in the protocol.
Okay, almost there. 5 Hive Guard washed.
Vespid, they don't hold the candle to Krutox Riders.
Nothing does, frankly.
That was
the only reason I don't take Krutox Riders is because I don't own 2,000 points of Tau to supplement it. If I could put Krutox Riders into my White Scars, I would do it. I think they're that good.
One of my favorite things about the last Charity Hammer was Brian Poland and I played a Tau off with completely non-meta builds. I played Farside Enclaves before they got all their extra rolls, and just played a very aggressive Ghost Keel, Stealth Suits, bunch of Vespid coming in from reserve. Brian played a much more defensive style list with Alien Auxiliaries, and he had a bunch of Krutox Riders in there. It was glorious.
Yeah, no, we should get on that. We need.
They have
Krutox
crushing
Riders.
fists, John.
They do, and Nick is a Krutox, not the writer. Nick is the
actual
Krutox. Yeah, no, Nick is not a Krutox rider.
Are you worried that an Immortal-focused build, as opposed to Warriors, is more vulnerable to Sisters or other lists that might have struggled to knock out a 20-man Warrior break? Sisters didn't because, Repentia should do it on 50% of the time.
Yeah, it's very close to average.
It's close to average, but Sisters lists have enough little shooting. They could kill 2-3 of them and make that a consistent play. So they could actually trade for it. And trading 144 points of Repentia for 260 Warriors was always a good trade for the Sisters player.
Yep.
Trading that for 170 points of Immortals is not quite as efficient for them, and I would happily take that trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because you have more resources to trade with, even if each one is a little less durable.
Yeah, Sisters have 4 to 6 units that really do a lot of the melee damage.
Yep.
I think John has been thinking 2 Repentia, 2 Zephyrum units.
Yep, that's exactly what I like.
Trading those for 4 Immortal units is perfectly fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the safety with the Immortal build is that they're T5, 3 up armor, so 2 up in cover, and they can do their damage from range, so they don't have to be literally in front of your opponent's army.
Yeah,
to
I
do
just
damage.
like that T5 a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference. Because I really like chipping down warriors with weight of strength 4.
The other thing is the immortals do a lot more damage in melee just by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
with
Extra
2 base
attack.
attacks, yep. So 10 guys come in with 30 attacks with the Novak strat, and
Pretty good.
if the Silent King's nearby, they're hitting extremely efficiently and wounding. Where do you rank Imperial Guard, Sisters, AdMech, and Space Marines in terms of allies for Custodes? I think AdMech and Sisters are the best.
Oh, I actually prefer Guard to AdMech.
Just for the full payload Manticores?
Full payload Manticores, Plasma. Frankly, the
You
bombers...
think Custodes and Guard is better?
Yeah.
Okay.
As much as I love AdMech, I think that the bombers are really the best part of AdMech right now. I really like Guard Indirect and the cheap units that they can trade with more so in a Custodes list. Because those are things that I think they lack.
I really like the reserve elements that AdMech bring for Custodes. Because Custodes are typically, hey, I'm on the board in this one place unless you build around the Vexilla teleport homer. And even then, most lists aren't doing that anymore.
Yep.
Just because of the power of the shield guard. So I like that AdMech can bring in, here's 30 Corvus Cari priests.
Absolutely. AdMech do still bring a lot there. I think Space Marines are actually the worst ally option for Custodes of the ones you listed. If I was going to do it, it would be like Talon Masters.
Really what it is Custodes being allied into those factions more than the other way around, to be honest. And that's because those factions overall lack durable board control OPSEC units.
Yes.
And that's one of the most powerful things to have in the game right now.
I would agree. Completely.
Whereas Marines don't really suffer with that because they have OPSEC on whatever units they want to, thanks to Rights of War. And they have Transhuman for 1 CPL.
Rights of War is the whole thing right there.
Also, happy Monday. The paint streams sure make it a lot better. Thank you so much.
Happy Monday.
We enjoy having you all. Do you guys feel like a build can be optimized, or you can build an optimized net list to crush the meta for 9th that you take to a huge tournament, like you did with Iron Hands in 8th edition?
I don't think there's any single army.
There's no single army. Especially with the newer books, there's so many different tools and builds in those armies that they're very flexible.
Yeah, no. As much as I would love to tell you that Breviathan was totally player skill, it was mostly us. There was a list that solved everything, and I think that the 9th edition meta is way more diverse right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when the 8th edition Space Marine Codex came out, it really killed some of the diversity in the game and took what had been a diverse meta and very much simplified it. And once it got simplified, it was a lot easier to answer everything you needed to.
Yeah.
So right now, I think the emphasis on player skill is higher than it was at the end of 8th. And that means that a single dominant list is a lot less likely to emerge. It's still possible, but and trust me, I have been trying. But I don't think that there's a single dominant build that you can just pick up and go.
Every time you come up with something, it has some sort of weakness to it.
Absolutely.
Whether that's board control, speed, reserve threats, lack of units overall.
Yeah, and I think we have a better mission pack than we did at the end of 8th. The ATC missions were very good, but
they were solved.
They could be solved, and this is a little bit harder to solve.
That part of that is just the diversity of the missions in what you're trying to do on each of them.
Yep, absolutely.
Having a bunch of missions with a center objective versus some without one, you have to play 2 different ways on that. Especially for armies like Dark Angels or.
And no choice in going first for second. There's some interesting aspects that were added.
Where does it say in the Necromancy Codex that Necrons don't reanimate from all mortal wounds? They can reanimate from mortals. It has to come from an attack, though.
Yep.
They reanimate from things that come from attacks.
Yep.
So mortal wounds that are from psychic powers, nope. Explosion results, nope.
So, and psychic powers are very explicitly not attacks.
Not attacks. Yeah.
That's been covered, documented in FAQ.
Mortals from a sniper, that's coming from an attack.
Yep, absolutely.
What changes do you foresee for GSC when their book is updated? More flexibility in their characters. Gene Sealers are actually good.
Yeah. Gene Sealer Cult need a decent amount of love, I think, right now. I'm a little bit down on them.
They need a Tau amount of love.
They need a Tau. They need the Necron Codex. And they don't need as many new models as Necron's got, although I would never complain about new models. But they definitely... They do have a good line. I think they could use a couple more kits, but like everything that they have is new and good looking. So I don't think they need new kits. But they need a codex on par with what Necron's got. Because Necron's very much went from a bottom of the barrel to an A plus S tier kind of army.
Yeah. Just a very flexible, diverse army.
Yep. Yeah, and with some good build options as well, which is really where Genius Their Cult suffers, is that their internal balance is horrid, and they have a lot of useless units that don't have any purpose on the table. Like, God help the Cult Lehman Russ. We took a Lehman, although in 9th edition they did manage to get it to the same points as a Lehman Russ. It felt bad when it was worse and cost more. Now it's just worse. At least it costs the same.
I got a bunch of doves.
Thanks. we're very pleased.
John, your Tyranid game versus Nick inspired me to play Bugs again for the first time in 10 years, and it's been super fun. Are we seeing them again soon?
I hope so. I am painting Hiveguard literally right now, so I would like to keep playing Tyranids. I'm very excited about them. I also have some Barbed Hierodules that I'm in the process of building, and of course, once they are built, they will be painted. So I would like to continue to show off Bugs. It's been a minute since they were like a really good, viable army. So I'm excited that I think that they're there now. I want to continue to test them, learn the army, and see how good I can make them. So I would think that you will see Tyranids again in the future. This was not a 1 week trip.
No. And Nick is also excited.
Nick also likes Tyranids, so we'll bust him out. Maybe we'll even get Tau versus Tyranids, right?
Yeah, I would happily do Tau versus Tyranids. Either direction.
Oh no,
we had the promised Nick would play Tau, I would play Tyranids.
I mean, I think we got to do that.
Tyranids are so much fun.
Tyranids they're a fun army right now, which is what I really enjoy. I enjoy my White Scars as well, but Tyranids do have dimensions that most armies don't bring to the game, so it is pretty entertaining to get them on the tabletop.
Does the Stream House have a Warrior Skyrunner Conclave list?
I don't actually think we do. Yeah, I don't think we have a Warlock Conclave.
I think Nick was just very down on them once they lost the stratagems from, what was that called?
Vigilus?
Yeah. They relied on a couple of the strats in there and that specialist detachment. And the other thing is they can't fall back and cast anymore.
Yeah. Now what's amusing actually is that you can cast all of your spells while in combat, use Quicken to fall back, and then use the fallback and charge stratagem. Which is a very fun interaction, because I've done that with Swarmlord, where Swarmlord doesn't want to be in a combat, so he casts all his spells and then he tells himself to fall back. And then he's cracking, he can just fall back and charge. I was quite proud of that.
Now the thing there is you're casting your powers likely in a deny range if it exists.
Yep, there are certainly downsides to such a playstyle, but if that's the best thing that you've got, sometimes you got to make that call.
Yeah, if you want to play it, I don't think it's like how many points are
the Warlock Conclave? Quite a few. I think that the big problem that people were having was that it's low on the number of attacks, and it really suffers into 2-up saves.
2-up saves, yeah.
And especially with 1-up saves, I don't think Jinx even helps. So,
just the meta and the type of weapons. With the Witchblades. Yep.
Yeah. Switching from the 3-up saves to 2-up saves really, really hurts them. But if Dark Eldar get popular, if demons get a new book eventually, if some non-2-up save factions start getting really popular, I could definitely see a reason for them to reemerge. I just think right now is probably not the time for that.
Let's see. Question for John. First, you established a Space Marine meta list, then you made a counter to that meta list. What do we get a counter to the counter, and will that list finish the loop?
It would be new Space Marines that's counter that list. I really want to play that Garden Sisters experiment more. It's just that Tyranids distracted me because my Democarians arrived, and then I got to paint them, and that was a very fun. It's been a very fun experience for me so far, and I'm going to continue it. Frankly, we never got to test the Space Marines into the Space Marine counter because I'm the player for each of it. So there's a lot of theory in that. So maybe one day we'll complete the cycle.
Nick didn't want to be the White
Nick, I was like, hey, I built this list specifically to be White Scars. Nick, can I test it on you? And he's like, absolutely not. I'm like, oh. I understand why that's not an appealing proposition to someone, but for science, you got to get the data.
Come on, you want to play into the hard counter.
Yeah, well, I did get to see my a version of my Imperial Guard list play into into Blood Angels, and I saw what could happen with that kind of firepower. Just always a question of, is that what's going to happen every time? Yeah, it's a harder thing to guarantee.
I wonder if they would get rid of Blip's mechanic. They played so strangely, I think they made it hard pressed for less experienced players to get into that mechanic.
Genes to the Cult have a lot of feels bads when you're not familiar with the army, and I get it, because frankly, it's very hard to write a tricky army that doesn't just dumpster new players. And like that's but like you want some armies to be tricky is the problem. Like Genes to the Cult should be a tricky army. I don't think anyone is like, no, Genes to the Cult need to be straightforward and boring. Like, no, that's that's Nurgle Demons. That's not Genes to the Cult. So I get it, but also I feel like Blips was a very cool and unique thing that they had, so I don't want to see that go away. I really like Blips as a mechanic for Genes to the Cult. I thought it was much better than some of the, thematically it was much better than some of the rules that Genes to the Cult have had to use in the past, so I would be sad if it went away. But I understand that, sometimes new rules, and especially very unique rules, feel bad for people who don't have experience against it, so I understand why someone would argue for it to go. But I think it should stay.
Yeah, I think it was some of the strats. It was some of the strat combos that GSC had. Mm-hmm. That felt bad for newer players.
Yeah, I think it's just that it's mechanically extremely different from every other army in the game. And therefore, like, people weren't really experienced with it. I had a lot of people who were like, it feels like you're cheating me. And I'm like, well, like, this is the rule. Like this is what it says. They're like, yeah, I know that's what it says, but it just feels like you're cheating. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep playing, I guess. Like, that's not comfortable.
Is that like perfect ambush type of thing?
Yeah, it was like perfect ambush, like putting units back in reserve, moving Blips around. There were some people did not like those interactions. Like, I had like a Knight Castling get lined up on like one Blip, and I just moved it. And just deployed it out of line of sight. I'm like, all right. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to stay there once you pointed a Castellan at me. I'm sorry. But, everyone, if you take two Castellans, you really want to be able to shoot them, and you get mad when people don't let you.
Can you give a shout out to my friend Mike Kilong? QX Long?
Absolutely.
Long? Don't know how to pronounce your last name precisely, but shout out. How about that?
Is that a Q or an O? I think that's an O.
Oh, I think there's like a dot on the...
I think there's actually just paint on the computer screen. That's Nick.
Oxlong.
Mike Oxlong, 100%. Shout out to you. You are amazing.
When will you see a Harridan?
Oh, boy. I'll admit it's not first on the list of things that I want to buy. However, Harridans are pretty cool. The Trogdor, as our good friends on the Best in Faction podcast like to call it. The big old Tyrannid Dragon, that's one of those like hobby goal models that I have that I'm like, yeah, I'll buy that when I'm like rich someday. That's what you say when you're a kid. And like, because like I don't know when I'm ever going to use it. But admittedly, the Harridan is like shockingly not terrible right now, considering that I thought it was one of the worst things in the game in 8th edition. It is really not terrible right now. So if ever there was a time for me to buy it, maybe I'll try to splurge, use some birthday money on that eventually. I don't know. I would need to go just check if it's even in stock online. But it is pretty cool, so it's not impossible that you could see a Harridan one day.
Do you have any armies you enjoy playing so much you have to stop yourself from wanting to play them in every stream?
I've actually really been enjoying this Tyrannid list. I really want to play... I would love to just keep playing this Tyrannid list, honestly. Like every stream Tyrannids.
In the last full season of the ITC, I played Tau pretty much every single event until Iron Hands came out. We did Breviathan for LDO. So I'm really enjoying just playing different factions now.
Yeah, you like having the variety?
Yeah. Now when events come back and you really want to master a list, I'll go back to the older way of things.
The grind,
but right now I'm enjoying playing, trying out new things every single time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What armies are you having the most fun playing in 9th edition?
White Scars and Tyrannids have been the two most fun for me. Although Sisters of Battle have been very fun, I just haven't gotten enough games with them to really say that mostly because I keep borrowing Nick's, and I don't like playing with Nick's stuff because not that his models are defective. It's just that he doesn't have all the stuff that I want, and I don't have all the stuff that he wants. So I feel it's a little limited in my list writing there. But the Tyranids, we've got everything we need. I got to actually paint the Demon Karens myself, so it adding a little bit of pride makes me enjoy playing a faction a lot more. So White Scars and Tyranids for me.
I really been enjoying playing the Necrons. Like the Silent King is so much fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
Just a big boss model flying around the board.
Oh, also my Knights. Imperial Knights, didn't own a single one before the edition. Got them all. The Knights are 4-0 so far. We haven't actually put the Knights on a YouTube stream yet. I am ready. Like I think it's next. They're fully painted and waiting. So the Knights are coming, folks. I am fond of my big stompy boys.
The Nightman cometh.
The Nightman cometh.
John, do I need a second Talon Master? Yes.
Yep.
To get a third one as well.
Third is not mandatory, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you have a third. Yeah, if you buy two and you've got the option for a third, you're not going to go wrong. Who asked that?
That was Punk Fox.
That's Punk Fox?
What do you think is the most viable Deathwatch Kill Team combo? I like the old one still. Just 2-up Marines with Storm Shields is a great place to be, but they also bring actual counter assault to Deathwatch, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
They also bring we played Deathwatch twice in the War Room, and there's a lot of tricks with them, and with using the squads with the Vanguard Vet, the bikes, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to check those out in the War Room, Nick goes through all the different tricks with using those mixed combat squads.
Right on. Deathwatch are really cool, especially now that we're getting heavy intercessor models. I'm hoping we can see Nick really flesh out the army on stream. Because admittedly, it's a little harder to play when you don't have all the things you want. So I understand why he's been a little bit reluctant to dive deep into the faction, but hopefully this is the opportunity he's been waiting for, and we get to see those Deathwatch on stream soon.
Sisters Imperial Guard counter medalist. What are its hard matchups?
Anytime you bring an absolute, bucket of guns, there's always the threat that someone else brings a bucket of guns and they kill your guns before you kill their guns. I think that list is especially the newer versions that are more Retributor Rhino centered. I think that's still pretty solid because it has a small footprint on its guns, and Manticores ignore line of sight, so I think you have an advantage in most gun-on-gun matchups. But there's always a threat if you bring a ton of damage output that you find an opponent who you can't kill.
Or a terrain board.
Although, frankly, when you've got Manticores, it's not the worst.
No, but imagine there's no ruins towards the back of your deployment zone.
Oh, yeah, that would also suck.
So the Manticores are up pretty close to your opponent. They have some fast-moving units.
Yeah. There's always, really fast-moving stuff like Tyranids, I think, would actually be hard. And then, and though that was not in the meta when I wrote that list, that wasn't a real faction at the time. As well, I think that 1-up save in cover, so 0-up save Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, Dark Angel Terminators is really hard because the Manticores don't get that grind that they usually get.
Yeah.
And that really hurts them, I think. Guard need a little more ignore cover, so I've actually been considering adding some Catachan elements to bake that in.
Silent King versus the Tyranids. Can make it happen at the end.
I want that to happen.
Yep, the end of the month is coming up, so the top 2 overall Super Chatters are going to get to choose a stream match, and Clan Mode, I think you are one of them. I am going to go through and look up who are the top 2 so far and tell you what that is for Wednesday's paint stream.
I personally find living metal distasteful, but I will consume it all the same.
Scarabs, baby.
I will eat you.
Claws. When is your birthday, John? Happy to buy you a Harridan.
Oh, who is that?
That's Adam.
Oh, Adam. You shameless flatterer. Oh, man. I wouldn't say no.
What does Inexorable Advance do now that it doesn't work on difficult ground?
I'm pretty sure it works on Tanglefoot and Restrain and Tremor Shells and those kind of things.
Bomb, yeah.
But, they have managed to introduce doubt on that question, so I'm not 100% sure what it works on.
It's either it works on that stuff or it doesn't work on anything, pretty much.
Yeah, if it doesn't work on that, then the rule doesn't need to exist. Very simple. Yeah, I'm a little confused as to what the intent to work on is, but I don't know. GW FAQ again. FAQ, your FAQ is GW.
Have you ever been caught out by a sudden shift in the meta? I assume 7th must have been wild.
Yeah, 7th all the time. 8th edition, I don't want to say caught out because like I saw it coming. It was just a matter of stopping it was the problem. Where when the Knight Castellan got really popular and everyone, you know, like every Imperium player bought a Castellan, bolted it onto their list and called it a day. That was the last time I was like really playing pure Tyranids long term. Actually, no, I had Gene Circle on that list too. That was before the Gene Circle Codex came out. I was running Carnifex spam at the time, and I tried really hard, but there were just some scenarios into the Castellan where you didn't have a game. Yeah. I think I played the Castellan 9 times, and I won 7 of those games. But then like the last one, it was like determined, like the game was over during deployment. It's just, you know, one of those you get Hammer and Anvil. The Castellan's on the back edge. Its range is 300 or something. I don't know what its range is. It was enough. And then like there just wasn't enough terrain. I went second. It was just done. Like I lost 6 Hive Guard into Carnifex to the Castellan turn 1. Turn 2 I lost 2 Carnifex. Turn 3 I lost 2 Carnifex. I hadn't fired a shot at him yet. I'm like, okay. That's my sign, folks. Gonna play Eldar for a bit. Those were dire days indeed that I had to resort to playing Harlequins and Dark Eldar. But I wasn't playing Ynnari. There's pride to be taken in that. No Ynnari.
Yeah, GSC seemed to have a worse offensive output than before. Not convinced on the Handflamers with all the T4, 2-up and 3-up saves. How do we win? Just threaten the opponent? Just move block, jump on objectives?
I think you really go with shooting as and like little kill squads as your main way to play. So I really like triple Goliath, which has 3 10-man or 4 10-man acolytes with 4 heavy weapons each. And I personally like rock saws, but you can make strong arguments for rock cutters and drills right now if you play into a lot of the 3-wound terminators like Dark Angels and Death Shrouds. Those will the rock cutter I think is actually the best one. But then if you see like Mortarion, the rock drill becomes best. It gets weird. There's some interesting stuff to be had there. I still think Ridge Runners are part of the most competitive Gene Circle list, even though Ridge Runners are frankly limited in the current meta. And I think you go with what's the name of it? I think you go with Bladed Cog, so that you get the Warlord trait that's basically old grudges, because when you're re-rolling your wound rolls against a big Deathwing brick, the las cannons will actually do something. And, you know, you won't kill them all, but, you know, weight of AP 3 that re-rolls all the wound rolls with D6 damage will get through the Terminators eventually, and it'll definitely do enough to discourage them from just standing in front of you brazenly.
Yeah.
And that's really what you go for. I think that the Handflamers unfortunately have no place in the current game. Again, if Dark Eldar become popular, Handflamers may see a resurgence, but right now 3 points per model, very limited in what armies they are actually effective against. That's not enough for me.
Would you guys ever be tempted to go for number 1 ITC best in faction, Tau, Tyranids, for example, even if it made it harder to place well in the general ITC rankings?
No, my priority is always the general ITC rankings. Now, I actually really like best in faction chases, and I will definitely look at that in a normal season. Like, you know, I made sure I was getting enough, you know, events to be competitive in the Spaceman ranking, so that meant I would, like, go to smaller events instead of staying home that weekend. To chase a best in faction, but I would never, like, if I thought, for example, if LVO had happened this year, and I think that White Scars were, you know, the best army to play at the time, I would have taken White Scars even if I was trying to defend a best in Genes for Occult or Tyranids, which is a goal that I would set during a normal season. But no, I'll always prioritize the main track.
I mean, I agree with that, although I had started the season with modest expectations the season that I won it. Instead, I was trying to get best in Tau.
Yeah.
And plan to stick with them. But
I was trying to get best Genes to the Occult that year, and I'm very confident that I would have gotten it if I had taken Genes to the Occult to LVO. But I won Leviathan instead.
wanted to try and win the whole event.
Yeah,
we were trying to win best team as well.
Absolutely. That was a very big consideration for me.
Anybody in the team played Blood Bowl? I have not.
I have not played Blood Bowl. I've heard some good things about it, but I have not really picked up the either the board game or the video game version of Blood Bowl. I've heard it's pretty fun though.
Any decent synergies combining Space Marines and Imperial Knights?
I think you would go with Talon Masters at that point and basically use them the way you used the old character dreadnought lists. Because they're just character dreadnoughts that are really shooty and fast. So I would 100% like boil in like Dark Talons and and a couple Talon Masters with Majeras. That would not be pleasant for anyone. Like, you can beat it, but like no one's gonna have fun.
Mark is in on those Chaos Terminators, the Emperor Children one. They seem to have potential, can double shoot, auto charge, cheap, always fight first, 5 of Feel No Pain. What's your take?
Yeah, I think they're great. I think they're really fantastic. I think he's actually working on painting up some more Emperor's Children Terminators so that we've got a full 2 squads available. I think they're a very fantastic unit, though. I imagine that it'll go up in points with that additional wound, but right now, they stayed at the lower wound, so it makes sense that they got a little cheaper. And I think they're at a very competitive price point right now. Frankly, the Chaos Terminator, I think, keeps Chaos Space Marines relevant as a faction. I am extremely low on Possessed. I am not enthusiastic about Noise Marines, but the Chaos Terminator, I think, is a very, very strong platform.
Yeah, the fact that Emperor's Children gives it access to Honor the Prince.
Honor the Prince is my least favorite stratagem in the game.
You don't like almost automatic charges?
I don't like automatic charges. Like, it takes Gene's Cult 3 CP, 2 support characters, and to still not have as good of a charge as Honor the Prince. It's like, what? Like, why is Emperor's Children
1 CP, John.
Why is Emperor's Children the really good at making, like, best army in the game at making reserve charges? I guess Sisters are better. But Sisters of Battle and Emperor's Children are the 2 best factions in the game at deep striking and charging. And, like, I'm like, hold on. I feel like this should be, like, Raven Guard, Night Lords, Gene's Cult.
Emperor's Children.
Emperor's Children and Sisters. It's like, alright. I'm not going to complain about Sisters because I love them, but it don't make sense to me.
Alright, time for a hardball question. Best topping for ice cream, sprinkles, or syrup?
Okay, so I actually prefer syrup to sprinkles. However, I will argue that, like crushed peanuts is the best topping for ice cream. I really like getting, like, some kind of, crushed nut and chocolate syrup. Not a fan of cherries. I don't like a cherry on top.
I like crushed cookies.
Crushed cookies are very good. This is not at all criticism of crushed cookies, but I really like adding a little bit of salt to my sweet.
What about milk?
Milk, you know what? Milk is good with everything. So that's...
John drinks milk with absolutely everything.
Milk is just a very good drink in general. You know what? I got strong
To
bones.
be fair, I missaw what he was eating one time, but I was still...
God, what did you think it was?
I thought it was spaghetti that you were eating. I thought you were eating spaghetti.
Yeah. God, what was it? It was like milk and...
I forget exactly what you were eating.
I think I don't know.
No, it was a reasonable meal.
Okay.
For milk.
However, I will say that I would drink milk with spaghetti. I was not at the point that Richard accused me of doing so. However, if I had spaghetti to consume, I would throw milk on top, no problem. Not literally on top, like it'd be in a cup on the side, ideally.
It was like the Inquisition showing up and John had committed a grievous act of heresy.
Absolutely not. That is perfectly normal. Milk is good. You've got a Midwestern family. You just drink milk with everything.
To get best in faction, can you only have results from that faction, or most? You can have results from other factions.
Oh yeah.
Typically, your best results are those with that particular faction.
Yep.
But just because I had played Iron Hands at LVO didn't mean I was prevented from winning best Tau.
Yeah, absolutely. He just needed to have a couple good Tau scores, which he did. He had a few.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. All right, I'm gonna grab a red paint real quick.
How do you guys think a Novak Warrior build would do into John's Tyranids?
Ooh, I think that'd be very interesting. I, for one, think that I could take that. I think
what do you think helps you out the most?
I think you don't have the shooting to dictate anything, because I have better screens, significantly faster combat, and better long-range shooting than you. Your Minears don't provide you much of an advantage, because if you hide the Silent King, then the Hive Guard will just pick up Minears. Mm-hmm. And like, Hive Guard don't just destroy the Silent King automatically, but as soon as I kill one Minear, all of my monsters can come out safely. And as soon as you bring out the Silent King, the other Minear is going to die.
How do you feel about dealing with the 20-man Warrior bricks?
I think I have very good mortal wound output and 180 shots from Devour Gaunts, and that's
That'll
Good
be
answer
good
right there.
enough.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's enough right there.
All right. Clown mode, you asked the question. You can actually make it happen next one because I
Ooh.
think you will end up being one of the top super chatters.
Yep. Now, I mean, if you want to be nice to Richard, maybe you'll, you'll.
Triple Catan?
No, I don't think that's a problem at all.
No, I was kidding, obviously.
Okay, I was like, yeah, I don't think that's the answer here.
It's not the answer for anything.
No, I think Tyranids match up very well into Necrons.
I am happy to play it, though. So
Ooh.
if you want to see that happen, let's do it.
My revenge on the Necrons. The Silent King must fail some amount of 4-up saves for this
It
plan
makes
to work.
everyone the Hive Guard do nothing, and John is sad.
I'll just keep doing it. Let's spend 2 more command points. Let's get it going. I'm not backing down here. I will shoot the Silent King until I'm out of command points, sir.
Funnily enough, I think like the 9 Airburst Tau art list is actually annoying for like Sisters armies and Tyranids.
Yeah.
Because it ignores AP. The Hive Guard don't do anything to that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it would be fine, personally.
No, I mean you're playing Tyranids against Tau, but
Yeah.
like, it's not.
It's
automatic.
annoying. No. It's annoying. I don't think Tau are good at all, but you do always want to be wary with them.
Yeah.
Because you really just can't afford to make a mistake against Tau, because they can still punish you.
The Age of Sigmar High Elves give me hope for the new Aldari models. They should go all in on the weird units. I really hope the Avatar gets redone, in particular. Badly
Yes.
needs it.
He does.
And make him a Supreme Commander and just absolute badass.
So if the Avatar were somewhere in the back of the queue for like which Eldar units were getting models, you would move the Avatar?
Did you move the Avatar, John?
Did you move the Avatar?
Go back and look into those Twitch comps.
No.
There's some good ones in there. What kind of sadist puts something somewhat healthy on ice cream?
See, that's my thing, honestly. Pizza and ice cream, I'm fine eating healthy, by the way. I'm not at all advocating for a junk food diet. However, when I consume pizza and ice cream, I do not pretend that it's healthy. Like, I'm not trying to put, like...
Diet starts
like,
on Monday.
No, hey, you know what? I've been eating very healthy today.
Me too.
I had an apple,
I'm about to have some
a little bit of chicken, some salad. Like, you know what? Today's been a healthy day.
Are you all going to do another Dark Angels report? Would love to see them on the field again. John is working on a brand new list that he would like to show off.
That is true. I have to secure some new models to make it happen, so it's not happening in the next week or two, but I do believe that Dark Angel successors have some really interesting and cool options, as well as the traditionally good Dark Angels. So I am attempting to muster that up as well.
I have a Zerakin build I'm developing for a potential major this spring. I think it takes the Tyranid list, not with John playing it, but piloted by us average folk. What's your Zerakin build? Zerakin's pretty interesting because 5 Feel No Pain is actually pretty decent with the meta heading towards more mortal wounds. You can also get access to a Technomancer or a Tomb Spider with the upgrade so that you could heal the Silent King.
Yeah.
Which is also pretty interesting. You do pretty much go away from Novak, but if you're not planning to build around melee, like that's not a bad choice at all. I've thought about doing it.
I also don't think that Tyranids really qualify as a hard counter for most armies because they're extremely difficult to play at a high level. Tyranids is definitely one of the more difficult armies in the game to play.
Yeah.
So, it's always something to consider, though, if you have it in your meta. But I don't expect to see it popping up everywhere, even if it turns out to be pretty solid.
And it is heavily relying on Forge Rolled.
It is, yeah. And boy, those Demon Karens, that was a hit right there. When I had to go get those, I was not enthusiastic about what happened to my bank account that day.
How would you soup Tyranids and GSC post Forge World monster updates? Or would you soup them?
I would not. I don't think Gene's Third will contribute much. Frankly, if I were to do it, I would lean away from the Kraken Demon Karen build that I'm currently running because Gene's Third just add absolutely nothing to that playstyle. They add Vect, but I don't have command points to use it. So, and it's not another reliable tool that it was since you can't reroll it, so I no longer value it. However, I think it adds a lot to a shooty Jormungandr build, because Jormungandr, while it has some very cool strengths, does objectively have some weaknesses as well. Yeah. And I think Gene's Third actually do supplement Jormungandr better. So when I actually get the Barbed Hierodulls painted, then I think I will probably try to show off a Jormungandr and Gene Cult build. But until that point, I think Gene's Third don't supplement the Demon Karen build very well.
Yeah. $5 super chat from Grandmaster Dan. First, That will make me feel better since your stuff isn't painted the normal colors. I learned a lot from the 2 reports. Can't wait to see another. Thank you so much for your super chat, and
Thank you.
We are definitely going to be having more of those friendly Dark Angels.
There will be more of those Dark Angels coming in. Maybe, if you really want, we could even have specifically Nick play into this triple Dark Talon madness that I'm working on. Successor chapter, Dark Talons. I think it's nasty.
It is nasty.
It is nasty.
3 Talon Masters. Don't forget the Talon Master.
I mean...
Why is that 160 points? I have no idea.
Yeah, also triple Talon.
I feel like they meant the 6 to be a 9, but that's just me.
You think 190?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
They're a lot better than what you get for 160 points in pretty much any other.
I'm not disagreeing. Yeah.
Like, they've got the speed, amazing shooting, they've got defense because of a 9 character.
Yeah. 8 wound
It's just good. 8 wound.
I thought they were 9 for a bit, and I was incorrect. They're an 8. But that's still fine for the purpose of not ever getting killed.
Yeah. How would you say you guys prevent house metas? There's always going to be a local meta somewhere.
Yep.
Like, anytime that you play, there's a Florida meta, there's a US South meta, there's a European meta.
West Coast meta.
West Coast meta.
The Australia meta?
Yeah. There's all sorts of metas regardless of where you go, so if you tend to play in a specific group, there's going to be that local meta aspect. What helps us not only do that is that we play every faction.
Also, honestly, talking to people in different parts of the world, like, we've seen some of the Australia lists, and we're like, yeah, this is crazy, but we played Matt Morrisoli's list that won an 8-rounder in Australia. We played that in the Worm, and it was very competitive, and it held up really well against, a prototypical Dark Angel army. It was a very tight game, so, yes, you can always get a local bias if you're not traveling, but we make sure to talk to people in different areas, and we try to keep abreast with what is happening in the game to make sure that when updates roll out, we don't miss it just because it's not one of the armies we play, and just to make sure we play every army except Chaos Knights.
We have played them on stream.
We have played them once. Hey, I want to get Chaos Knights, actually. I've actually got some really cool painting ideas for Chaos Knight army.
Did anybody in the house sing Happy Birthday to you the other day? If not, can we get Mark to do it on stream? Several friends did, in fact, sing me Happy Birthday.
Yes, and of those, I had the best singing voice, because it sure isn't Nick.
You did try, though.
I did try. So did he.
But yes, I was very gracefully sung to by my friends.
Absolutely.
And then we played games.
Then we played board games. It was a wonderful, very low-key, in-the-house celebration, as is fitting for the year.
Very COVID conscious.
Yes.
What else you got? Yeah, those Hiveguard are coming along.
Hiveguard are coming along. Just need to do a little bit more on pick out some pink details, I think, and then I'll put some black rim on the bases, and then they'll be pretty much good. Tyranids are very quick to paint if you're getting them to tabletop, and I consider myself a very passable painter, but I'll admit that my Tyranids I do for speed, not showmanship.
But that's because you started. That was your first
army. This was my first army, and frankly, I'm just completely unwilling to repaint the other 12,000 points of Tyranids, so I'm not doing a new scheme now. Now is not the time to start over. I'll just put that effort into other armies. Maybe one day the Tyranids will get revisited, but I think they're fine for now.
Yeah.
So just add some pink to the piping here, I think. Make them pop out a little bit. So many weird organic bits with Tyranids.
So, John, expand more on your Chaos Orc faction idea from last week's Hobby Hangout.
Oh, my idea. Oh, no, that is a Mark Perry classic right there.
If you want to explain the story.
Absolutely. So, we were having a conversation in a hobby stream about what we would like to see added to the game if a Xenos faction were to be added. And Mark strolled in. I think this was ahead of a stream game when we used to do our paint streams on the same day as stream games. And we posed the question to him, and we're like, Mark, what Xenos faction would you like added to the game, like something new that doesn't exist? And we were talking about like Zotes and like Slith and like Umbras. Yeah. And Mark's like put some real thought into it for a minute. Adopts like the thinking man pose, and he's like, Chaos Orcs. And we're like, no.
No.
Like new
chaos.
Race. New race. And he's like, nope, Chaos Orcs. And we're like, that doesn't count. I would love to see Zotes expanded upon, personally. I think they're really, really cool. The Archivist, yeah. I need to paint that guy up still. There's so many projects. what was the there's like a couple of different like lesser races that don't have any models. Like Umbras are one of them. I'm trying to remember what the other one is.
Faction.
Yeah, like the ones that are like often compared to Space Skaven.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what they're called. I remember there's like some like very distinct like Horus Heresy lore with like the Iron Warriors went on an extermination campaign against them. Someone's gonna call it out in the chat, and I appreciate it if you do.
Got Plasmancers, Transcendent Catan, Scarab Screens, high efficiently longer range shooting with heavy destroyers and stalkers. More to it, of course, but that's the gist of it.
It's a lot of mortals.
Very, very bold with those heavy destroyers.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna do it,
But
Zerakin is the way to do it.
it.
Yeah, if one were to attempt such a thing, Zerakin is the best way to get Method from Madness.
I just wish they were a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I don't blame you, but they do hit when they connect.
When they connect.
They
really need that reroll wounds.
That's true.
Especially against Dark Angels.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. That is a place where you need it. I wonder if he's doing like the single giant shots, or if he's doing the other variant of the gun.
Probably the giant shots.
The
other variant just is unnecessary in what Necrons do well.
Okay, it's very redundant with other firing weapons they have.
Yeah. That's how I feel. Because it's mass 1 damage.
Oh.
It's like, that's what Necrons do.
Yeah, no, that's already a thing you've got.
If it was 2 damage, it'd be a lot more interesting.
Harud, thank you. Harud is exactly what I meant.
Looking to add another channel to my watch while painting schedule. Outside of yourself and Tabletop Titans, who would you recommend? For live content?
Ooh.
Hellstorm Wargaming? I like those guys.
Hellstorm and Vanguard, I think, are both pretty good.
Hellstorm, Vanguard Tactics.
There's a host of different, good content creators.
Play on Tabletop.
Play on Tabletop.
40
They're
minutes.
very entertaining.
Those guys are awesome. We're friends with pretty much all these people.
Yeah, absolutely. So
like, we have no shame in supporting. Like,
Nope.
Go out and support all the 40K out there.
Literally every single 40K content creator, check them out.
Yep.
If you, when in doubt, look at some of the creators that were part of the Las Vegas Open.
Yep.
And anyone who is a part of that is probably worth taking a look at. If you're not familiar with their work, at least go check out the channel, see if their unique streaming style fits what you like in the game.
Yep.
I'd also recommend the Best in Faction podcast. They've very recently been working on updating the quality of their stream games.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Colin. I recommended some of the technology we were using, some of the techniques we used, and he really took that to heart. So plenty of great creators out there. I would check out Biff Pod, anyone in the Las Vegas Open.
Yep.
Those would be my immediate
Art of War
thoughts.
Down Under as well.
Art of War Down Under,
Down
of
Under.
course.
Yeah. We've got Adam Camilleri,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Diffie, Eric Lathuris, Matt
Yep.
Marsali. Got a whole team down there. And
100%.
those guys are putting out quality. Just woke up and read the new FAQ, and now I have more questions than answers.
That's
how you write a good FAQ.
Yep.
You just create all sorts of... create a new mystery.
It's like, you can just imagine like the developers like, all right, frequently asked questions for Death Guard. They're not actually asking that many questions. Oh, we'll make them ask questions. How about this?
They're not asking the questions we want.
Yeah.
There are questions, just not the ones we want.
They didn't need to be asked, and now they do. Truly incredible. I don't know what's happening with Death Guard. Ask your local TO, because no one's going to agree on this.
Rust Stalkers. I wish this unit actually did stuff besides have a strat. That's actually good.
The outflank?
Yep.
Yeah, but the outflank is kind of cool. I mean, I get it. I wish that they did things besides that, but
They're supposed to be a melee specialist unit.
Oh, really? That's... Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
No, I'm not joking.
They are not.
Yeah.
No, they are not.
Was Tabletop Tactics in the Las Vegas Open? They were not, and that was because the UK had gone in lockdown like a week or so
that's
before,
right.
And otherwise they were actually going to participate.
Yeah, they were part of the conversation and slated to. That's why I was thinking they were part of it. But
Yep.
just still like a great content channel to check out. If you're not familiar with their work, it's certainly worth looking at. They are very popular, and well, it's because they put out a high quality product.
That's a good reason, yeah.
So
Been doing
no
it for a
shame in
while.
admitting that.
Is Destroyer spam viable? No.
I would personally not think so.
Don't think so, because they really don't benefit from a lot of the best rules that Necrons have.
Yeah.
And the best defense they can get is a 5-up in one.
just not amazing. It's not bad, but it's not.
The reanimation
impressive.
change really hurt spamming.
Those 3-1 models, yeah.
Because it used to be that you could get almost a full unit back
Yep.
in one go. Now it's very difficult to get more
Can
than two
a
models.
Technomancer stand up a dude?
If you build the, if you get the Cryptek Arcana, the Phylacterine Hive, and
That's
you can do it once per game.
Oh, that's less cool.
It's awful.
What is the does the
Chief
Technomancer?
Apothecary, Selfless Healer, Technomancer with Phylacterine Hive.
Yeah, it's not the same. The phylactery.
Well,
Oof.
one's more expensive, John, and that's the Technomancer with the Phylacterine Hive.
Well, he sure ain't no tally man. He ain't no tally man.
The Tallyman is silly.
The tally man is. I hate that man so much. I really do.
Why is he 70 points?
I hate Death of the False Emperor. I hate Honor the Prince. I hate the tally man.
And you know what the common denominator is? Chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos is vile chaos. Must be purged.
They should be. They really should be.
Is it good? I ran the destroyers. I tried, and
In one game.
they are vastly inferior to the best shooting units in the game.
Yeah. They do not stack well there.
We got to see them versus Plasma Inceptors, and Plasma Inceptors actually did something. In
Like, the worst part is that I didn't actually shoot you back with the Plasma Scepters.
You didn't need to. 'cause
No, I was like, oh, no, we're just going to shoot everything else. Like, I'll just take this shooting every turn, and it kind of just worked out.
Yeah.
Yep. It was actually that simple.
And that was with the strat.
It was. No, you did what you
I
could.
tried.
You did what you could, and that was not much.
Tanglefoot grenades work on Death Guard because it mods the charge distance, not the dice roll. It very likely should work, and that's what they intend, but they wrote it in a very unclear manner.
Yeah, I'm now trying to figure out what the rule is used for, and that's the much harder question. And I don't know. I don't actually know the answer. Like, what does this work on?
There's a question about somebody typed in Anarchyr in the chat.
Anarchyr.
And I like that name.
I do like Anarchyr the Traveler. However, Trazyn the Infinite is my favorite of the Necron characters. This is not based on rules.
And it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, because Trazyn the Infinite is by far the most entertaining of the Necron
The
characters.
fact that he has an entire mansion full of
He is a planet.
planets, yes.
Planet. His planet is an archive. One of the Necron books for you lore aficionados, The Infinite and the Divine, is basically just a full novel of Trazyn the Infinite and Orican the Diviner having some just like a 10,000 year long Tom and Jerry feud. We're like,
They don't like each other.
nope, like Orican breaks in, steals like a walking stick from the museum that used to be Trazyn's when he was like before biotransference. Trazyn like breaks into his planet by like riding, like he like tries to ride like a meteor down onto the his own planet so that he gets undetected. It gets blown up by the orbital defense. He like body swaps with a whatever the snipers, a death mark, like infiltrates his thing and just blows apart one of Orican's bodies. He just goes into a new body, but like he's just like he did it like just purely out of spite. And there's like 8,000 years between all of these feuds. It's like incredible. I find it very amusing and very lighthearted.
The Necron characters are a lot of fun.
They are, yeah. Necrons are a very fun race, especially compared to what lore they had 10 years ago when they were just
robots.
They were just robots and soulless. Like, no one knows why they're doing this. I'm like, okay, what else?
The big ones at least outrange most of the meta. Hive Guard, Scorpius Disintegrators, PBCs all scary. Only PBCs are super crazy though.
Manticores.
Anything guard.
Yeah, good.
But really, Manticores are the best.
Manticores are the best indirect in the game right now.
But John does want to run the giant missile.
I would love to run the Death Strike.
The Death Strike.
The Death Strike is one of the coolest things in the game, and it is offensively terrible. Because you can legitimately play a 5-turn game without firing it. It's like, because like you have to roll a d6 under the current turn. And like I feel like if they want a stratagem to auto fire, it doesn't have to be cheap. Like 2 CP, fire a Death Strike missile, and you can only fire 1 per turn. No problem. Like, you're basically paying 160 points and 2 CP for a slightly better orbital at that point that has to roll the hit. Like, come on. Like, it's like, give me something here.
Do you target one unit?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just
But it does,
Yeah,
like, splash
area
mortals, like,
yeah.
to things near it. Right now you have a 3 CP stratagem for the Vortex Warhead, which is, like, when you like, you know, pick the thing to shoot, it does even more mortals. The problem is that you use the 3 command point stratagem before you determine whether or not it's allowed to shoot this turn.
Powerful.
No.
You gotta throw CP in the trash.
No, oh my god. Like, it is offensively bad. And it's one of those mechanics that I'm just like, there's literally no possible way that it works this way in, like, the next update. But right now, that's what it does. It is depressing.
For Necrons, have you tried the Forgeable Tesseract arc, or what would you recommend for heavy shooting, if anything? I don't think Necrons do heavy shooting well compared to other factions.
I actually like the Tesseract arc a lot.
It's 190 points.
I know why you don't.
With D6 shots, you need a
Yep.
hit, no rerolls, unless you build around the Custom Dynasty. And then you got a wound, D6 damage too.
Yep. Nothing you're saying is wrong.
Yep.
I still just want to try.
And I will let you buy the 3 Tesseract
I'm
arcs.
not willing to do that.
They needed some sort of consistency somewhere. They needed a flat number of shots. They needed D3 or plus 3 damage.
Yeah.
They needed something, and they got none of that.
Yeah.
So
All those things would have been cool.
the other thing about running multiple quantum shielding vehicles is only one's getting the strat. So your
Mhm.
opponent is going to split fire.
It actually just has a 4-pin moment.
Well, I'm saying this is usually a quantum shielding spam list.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's not cheap and it's not consistent, which means
It is neither of those things, I'll admit. But it can be great. It can be great.
John has seen me run the Doomsday arcs, and this is basically the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first 2 turns, 2 Doomsday Arcs did 24 shots. The last 3 turns, they did, like, a cumulative 9 shots.
Maybe even not that, because I lost.
Oh, yeah, one of them died.
Yeah.
Alright, maybe, like, 6.
It was awful.
Like,
it was
but,
rolling
like,
ones into
you rolled,
ones.
like, 6, 6, 6, 6, and I was like, these things are broken. And then I, like, finally got to the point where I could deal them, and then they just started rolling ones, and I was like, interesting.
And then they
I think you re-rolled a 1 into it, too, at least once, though. And then didn't.
I rolled several ones.
There were several ones into something that wasn't higher than a 4. It did not close the game out strong.
Current state of Blood Angels, they're Marines that hit very hard. They have some tough matchups, specifically Death Guard and Dark Angels, but they are good into most of the meta.
Yeah, still a very strong army, even though they've got a couple of weak spots.
What do you think of this? Feel this list will take massive casualties. Triple Chronomancer, Technomancer, bunch of Lich Guard, Gauss Immortals, 27 Scarabs. Like, very, very solid core. I actually ran something similar, but with Warriors instead of Immortals, back in the stream game I played against John's White Scars.
Yeah.
That one I had Triple Chronomancer and all the Scarabs.
So many Chronomancers.
Very, very solid. I hate spending 240 points on 3 Chronomancers, but I can see why in that style list you'd want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is what the list is about. It's just denying primary points. You're going to throw all the Scarabs into your opponent with the 5-up Invuln. Nothing they have is going to deal with 27 Scarabs with the 5-up Invuln quickly enough.
Takes a very long time.
And so you get a primary advantage, and then from the late game, you're just trying to scrape points. With the new Demon Prince change being a Lord, but not the Death Guard version, are they worth taking?
They're definitely better. I like that you can now take a Lord and a Demon Prince in the same detachment, which means you don't have to buy that like $90 Malefic Playcaster box to be able to fill the battalion in Death Guard. I still think that I like Typhus more than a Demon Prince because you get a Lord buff and a caster. But I think he's a little bit better of a caster than the Demon Prince and is cheaper, even though he is significantly slower. But it does make a Demon Prince worth considering for Death Guard. Not an auto take, but it is very much in the worth considering bracket now, where frankly it was not before. So a good change for Death Guard there.
Yeah, I prefer Tyvus myself as well, but
he's slow, which is not inconsiderable.
He does have that cool 6-inch ability to do mortals.
He does move 3 inches through a forest now.
Well, please don't.
Demon Princes fly.
Let's not put him in the forest, John.
Start him in the forest.
I don't
hit
think
him with the tremor shell. Dang it.
I love loved the old Death Guard where you could just Tremor Shell and just keep them stuck in their deployment.
That was
That was awesome.
when you like just park the custodians 12 inches away and you're like, grenade time. That was good. Those 4-inch moving Terminators. That was easy to slow down.
I am all good whenever you are.
I'm gonna put a little bit of black on actually.
Put some black paint on there.
Put some black paint on the rims of the bases, then we'll be pretty good there.
Got 10 Immortals, 5 Ruststalkers done, and the Hexmark Destroyer.
Hexmark Destroyer. You gotta get the Hexmark Destroyer going.
I feel like his profile was just a mistake.
No,
there's something in there that they want.
And like Nick keeps like coming back to us about it, and I feel like he's doing it to see if we like remember.
I'm running it against him. I don't care.
Beautiful. It's gonna do nothing.
It actually
but what if it like
does
actually
everything in the world against him? And okay.
Like, what do we even say? It's like
we promote him.
Yeah, it's all right. Good job, buddy.
Imagine this: you take max death strikes. None of them manage to shoot before the game ends. How upset are you?
Extremely. It's possible is the problem. It's possible that you have this one-shot tank that can't shoot.
What it is you win anyway, and that's the style.
That's the styling? I don't know if I can.
Styling.
I don't know if Guard is the army that styles that hard.
Well, John, this is the spearhead that you bring into a good army.
Oh, well, Guard are a good army.
I'm teasing.
I could be Death Guard with a Death Strike that doesn't fire. That's not a problem at all. Guard are a very hard counter for Death Guard, I think.
Vengeance for Katie is just silly.
That's true. That's very true, yep.
There's no reason for it.
Nope, there isn't.
Every chaos is just...
Hey, I have happily said that if Death of the False Emperor goes away, I will happily sacrifice Vengeance for Cadia. No problem. I'll get rid of that. You get rid of your Death of the False Emperor. We call it even.
Sleepy Gary, that is an excellent question. Is it pizza time? It was pizza time on my birthday on Saturday.
It's always pizza time.
And we still have leftover pizza, so it's going to be pizza time for quite a while.
There you go.
An army with 10 Blight Lords plus 10 or more Death Shrouds, is it viable, or is it best to have Terminators plus Mortarion? Nick has actually been running a list like that. 9, 10 Blight Lords, and then...
like 6 Death Shrouds.
6.
I think that's really good.
Yep.
I think that's the best number, personally. I actually don't like Mortarion very much. I think that a large Blight Lord unit, I don't know if you need to go all the way to 10, but a large Blight Lord unit and a few Death Shroud squads is quite strong.
Imagine this: Nick takes max Death Strikes. None of them manage to shoot before the game.
You know, we don't own any Death Strikes.
We don't, but
you know what? I would like to. It's like what? It's like I think it's like the only like main guard tank that I don't have.
What would happen is Nick gets to fire them all, but does the minimum amount of mortal wounds and says it was below average.
Yeah. It's like, Nick, you shouldn't have fired. But on the other hand, Nick claims that he always rolls 1, so this is his opportunity to fire the Death Strikes on turn 2. There you go. That's your answer right there.
Can you imagine just a turn where 3 of them go off?
You could actually only fire 1 a turn.
Oh, only one
Once
a turn?
one of them succeeds, the rest cannot fire. No, it's pretty incredible.
Okay.
Yeah, they did everything possible to make sure that this unit was not broken. And to be honest, they did. They did make sure.
Then they left Thousands on Smite spam in for 2 years.
God, Guard have some really cool stuff, but they also have some of like the biggest duds possible. They have a 3 command point stratagem that does D3 mortal wounds on a 4+ if you're within 6 inches of a model carrying a Voxcaster that dies. What? 3 command points to maybe do D3 mortal wounds? I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
That wouldn't even be a bad 1 command point stratagem. But like 3, not a chance. Never.
That was for Halloween. If we had reached 1,000 subscribers on Twitch, I was gonna dress up as an Inquisitor and go out for Halloween.
Yeah.
That didn't end up happening. We got over halfway there.
We did get close. Alas, we have not yet managed to get him an Inquisitor Tinder profile. I am not giving up.
It was a Halloween costume.
Oh, it was a Halloween costume?
I'm not doing Tinder.
All right.
So, I will happily dress up as an Inquisitor for Halloween, but we need to reach 1,000 subs. So get on it.
I thought it was 800.
No, it was 1,000.
Suspicious.
800 is too strange of a number.
I don't know.
Does this mean that Death Strikes are the hidden meta for people who always roll 1s?
No, you do need to stop rolling 1s at some point for them to be good. You need to roll a 1.
1 to hit.
But then you need to stop rolling 1s very quickly at that point.
I noticed in my thanks, Sleepy Gary, much appreciated. I've noticed in my last few games my Inceptors are being aggressively focused by my opponents, but they have been tending to ignore my attack bikes. Should I drop the Inceptors and run 9 multi-melta attack bikes?
No, I still like the mix. It depends on the sub-faction here. If you're playing Dark Angels, I would actually say yes, because the Ravenwing buffs are enough for me to justify that. But in general, I like the mix of attack bikes and Inceptors in a melee-oriented chapter, like White Scars or Black Templars. I like a mix. I think 6 of each is a very healthy place to be for the shooting element of an otherwise melee list.
Yeah, but like you're saying, the Inceptors, because they have to commit closer, they're usually in the threat range of more things.
Absolutely. It's very often a one-way trip, but it also can be a multiple turn threat, and that it can be useful.
We are based out of the U.S. in Florida.
Indeed we are. Sunny, sunny Florida.
Only John is actually a Florida man, though.
That is true. I am a Florida man. But of us, Mark is the most of the Florida men.
Mark embodies the Florida
Mark embodies the Florida man. I am actually Floridian. Just from the more urban cities of Florida rather than the stereotypical trailer parks as there are.
I know you guys do coaching for armies. Could I do a half-hour call where I ask questions about your stream setup? I don't see why not.
Yeah, if you wanted to use a coaching call for that, I would.
You can I think Nick has had some people who just call him for just personal questions.
Yeah.
Like hear stories that Nick has had from his events. Like they've.
Honestly,
what about this Adepticon win? They just.
Yeah, I would send us an email that's contact@theartofwar40k.com. I would assume that would be fine though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think Nick would probably be the best person for that.
Yeah.
But 100% that should be something we can do.
What's probably going to happen is you'll send it to Nick and then he'll have me.
Well, no. I mean, I run that email,
okay.
so
well, John,
I would take care of that and make sure that everything is good. I just don't want to give a 100% answer on the fly.
Have you any luck with almost pure Canoptic list? Nick did try the custom dynasty.
Canopnik.
Canopnik. He did try it, and Grey Knights had their way with the Canoptic stuff. But it is very powerful. I have a coaching client who runs a mostly Canoptic list with custom dynasties, and he has done extremely well on TTS.
Yep.
How did you end up a Packers fan in Florida?
My family is from the Midwest. I have a lot of family in Wisconsin, and I was indoctrinated at a very young age, and it stuck. There also, at the time, were not many Florida sports teams to be excited about, so I was very enthusiastic about the Packers.
Whenever you're good, John.
I'm good to go. That was the last base right there.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with us today.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be back tomorrow with a stream game. It is John and I. I am playing Tau.
Into my Imperial Guard.
John is playing the Guard. This is a sub-match for Mr. Weeb, and if you want to do a sub-match for us, at the end of every month, the top 2 people with the most super chats overall end up getting to choose 2 stream matches. Mr. Weeb chose Tau versus Guard, and then Gundam chose Ultramarines versus Custodes. So we're having that coming up, I think, the following week.
Yep.
But if you want to make any matchup happen, I know we've had a lot of people, talk about, Tyranids, Necrons, this chat. Can make it happen.
All right, let's do it.
Do you know
Clown
about
Mode asks about Culver's. Culver's is my favorite fast food restaurant, as a matter of fact. So yes, cheese curds are excellent.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And once again, we hope to see you tomorrow for that stream game. And I'm excited to bust out the Tau. We're going to see. Can they do better than last time? They did quite a bit of killing last time. Mission playing was harder. This time we're running 50 breachers.
You know what? We're going to kill them.
All right.